No, I know, I'm just saying.
Good morning, everybody. We are here from Two Rivers Books and Weird Sisters Yarn with Zipporah from Reading is Resistance and her partner, Farnell Newton. They're going to be talking to us today about their experience of reading. Jason, remind me of his last name?
Oh, the book that we're going to be talking about is Stamped by Jason Reynolds and Ibram X. Kendi. We'll be talking about
which is a remix of Ibram X. Kendi's book Stamped that came out in 2017.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to that. We are also looking forward to the Jazz Festival that's happening this weekend. Be sure to tune in. That's going to be on Jazz Society of Oregon. They have a Twitch feed set up. There's a link on their website. So be sure to log on. It's all going to be online this year.
Cool.
And in 2 weekends, on the 26th of July, we're hosting a brunch with Judy Bennett of Portland Bloody Mary Mix. Going to be talking about her recipe book, her mom's Bloody Mary recipes. And we've even located Despondent Dyes, a local dyer, has a colorway called You Say Tomato, I Say Bloody Mary. Show that off.
Cool.
Check it out. The details are on our website. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Zipporah.
Thanks. So happy to be here. Virtually together. Good morning, everybody. That's just how it is now. I'm Zipporah from Reading is Resistance. If you don't know who we are, our mission, this is actually my co-founder here. Yes, not only my partner, but co-founder.
Good afternoon.
Also our dog, Cinderella. Reading is Resistance mission is to create opportunities for parents and teachers to start or expand diverse libraries that are also inclusive of voices, and to curate reading experiences for kiddos and youth to seed conversations, especially around racial equity. So that's what we do. And all of the work comes, especially right now, out of this room and this house. So we thought we would talk to you today. You want to say anything for your intro? What's going on?
It's just, trying to navigate through all of this that we're going through right now, and a pandemic with being home teachers, trying to get our own work, and also trying to make sure that we are part of various different organizations and movements to fight for systemic change, and also just teaching young kids about these books and stories, give them a voice and get them thinking very different than they ever would have at school, because there's no way in any of these schools, in Portland Public Schools at least, that they're talking about Stamped and they're talking about books by as diverse artists and Black and people of color authors and things like that. So I think it's great, and our kids and this network of people are very fortunate. We're very happy just to be involved in it all.
Yeah. Shout out to the teachers who do use these books in their classrooms, because I know some of you, and you do, but it's always on the rebel basis, right? It's not like a system-wide curriculum that's actually centering Black and brown voices in history. So we're going to do a couple of things today. Some of them we probably don't even know that we're going to do, but one of them is talking about doing some summer reading with our kids. We're going to talk about this book that we just started reading out loud with the kiddos. Some other book pairings that you can read kid parent. So you could be reading, they could be reading at the same time and have conversations. Other things, we have some frequently asked questions that friends and parents ask us about the work that we do and the parenting stuff we do with our kiddos. And we also have some fun comics that we wanted to highlight, because it's important to talk about history of oppression, and it's also important to showcase stories by Black, Indigenous, and people of color that are fun and romantic and funny and exciting and adventurous and all of those things. So we want to do that. Anything else that we're hoping to achieve?
No.
Great.
It's a lot to pack in, but we're going to do it.
It'll just be this and that. It's going to be great. I've got more coffee. You seem to not.
Yeah, my coffee's over there.
So we started reading this book Stamped with the kids. It's super popular right now. I think it's on like the top of all the lists I don't even know how easy it is to get it right now, but it's stamped and it's a remix of this very large book. I'm going to show it this way. Called Stamped from the Beginning by Ibram X. Kendi, which is a very thorough history of racism in America. It is a very dense, footnoted work. I would just recommend reading it a little bit at a time. I would also recommend for all ages to read Stamped. I think that when we've been reading it, like I've been learning things. So we're probably about 5 chapters in with our kids. I've already read it, but we're 5 chapters in with our kids. And I kind of wanted to talk about like what that experience is like reading it with them, because I think it's a good idea so far. So we thought we'd share our experience. It's a history too of race and racism in the United States. I think the target age is probably like middle school, maybe, but our kids are 9 and 10.
Yeah, which I feel like they're not as shocked when you're reading. Zipporah does the reading on this one, and we kind of all will listen and pay attention and learn about the various different things. But I feel like our kids are not as shocked because we've been educating them and talking to them about various different injustices and historic facts and things in America. And but I feel like this, if you never heard these things, it can be kind of overwhelming. You know, if you're from a background, you're not Black, or and you're listening to these stories, you're just like, oh my God, like this is what actually happened here in America. And I feel like a lot of that history is so overshadowed and not taught and not shown in its purest form in the schools. I feel like we gloss and make everything sound so nice and everything. And the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and these people came together to fight for justice. But it's just like there's the true stories behind them is not shown more. And this is great. This is really good.
I mean, I think it's for grownups too. I would say, like, I think it's totally appropriate to read to our kiddos their age. There's some things that they'll probably not sink in all the way, but when it comes back to it, my thought was reading this book was, how cool is it that the first time they hear these historical names and people, that they're going to be hearing it in this context from these writers, talking about race in America in a real way. You know, talking about Thomas Jefferson, what was really going on, talking about Benjamin Franklin, talking about the ideas, you know, like talking about Cotton Mather. I mean, I seriously remember some of this stuff like vaguely from grade school, and it was all like supposed to be good. So how great is it for your first taste of like diving into US history to have the opportunity to teach our kids something that's real and grounding them in truth? And I'm sure they'll cause lots of trouble later in classes that say other things. And I'm so excited about that.
Yeah. I mean, but at the same time, it could be kind of hard to process these things. I remember being a young man at Oberlin College, learning more about Black history, and also my Native side, my Choctaw side, learning about things that was happening in history. And it could be it could be a hard place to be, but you have to kind of, push through it and and take it all in, because it is a lot. It's a lot that has happened in this country of ours. And but I feel like this book presents it in such a way that's very, kids or adults can really digest it easy. And the stories are kind of like the humor and mixed in with the stories. Historical facts are pretty great.
Yeah, Jason Reynolds is a great storyteller and intentionally does make it accessible, I think, even when it's hard to read. My college students are also 3 groups of students are reading this book and are getting a lot out of it. And we've been referring to it a lot in our bigger discussions about educational equity. So I think it's a good touchstone and helps you build your vocabulary so you actually can talk about topics. I think that's one of the things that parents often ask are like, first of all, they ask, when is too early to start talking about race?
It's never. I feel like you need to be talking about it from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Just very beginning, talk about it, understand it, and also I was just reading something on Facebook where an account where a student will bring these things up, these facts and things to the teacher, and the teacher didn't know,
Mhm.
and will kind of quiet the student because they haven't been taught these things. So now you have a kid who comes from this diverse background, or background that has educated him or her in this history, and it could be kind of sad in a way, because you're in school and you can't really get any answers or more outlook into these things. So
yeah, that is hard. I mean, our kids have had that experience before, bringing something up and the teacher being like, no, that's not a thing, or it's not a problem. It is. So you always have to have your kids back, and they ultimately have to have yours. I was talking about, like, wanted to show this book, Anti-Racist Baby, also by Ibram X. Kendi. How in the world does this man produce so many things? I have no idea, but it's amazing. And this book is a cool, like, it's, you get pregnant, buy this book, start reading it right then.
What?
What? I'm serious. This is the book that you should have from the very beginning.
You're pregnant again?
No, God. Oh, jeez. That would just be so terrible.
You said you was pregnant. What?
No,
what
I'm just saying you, like the you of the people. You all know what I mean. This book, and wait, turn it around because the pictures are so great. Yeah. Look at this baby. This is the anti-racist baby. We love this baby. And being anti-racist parents or people, that's a process. It's not like a moment. It's just like everything you do in your
everything.
And yeah,
watching TV, watching movies, talking, walking down the street. Every nuance, all of it it happens all day.
Hey,
long.
Two Rivers has 5 copies of Stamped.
Oh, nice.
Which is really good. That's
great.
It's a treasure trove. So get on down there.
Get it.
With your mask. Be safe when you do that. And I know that there's more copies of Anti-Racist Baby coming all over. There's more printing happening. It's really good. Start early. Start right away.
Yes, very early.
I wanted to also show a book that there's a couple of book pairings. I'm just going to show one, but there's lots of books that you can read that have a young readers edition. So I would say also just be a learner with your kid. We do that all the time. We don't know all the answers. We don't even know everything about our identities. This book right here, this is the Indigenous People's History of the United States. That's the grown-up version. Roxanne Dunbar Ortiz wrote this book. It's really good. It's a thorough history. There were lots of things in it I had never learned before. This is the Young Readers Edition, which I equally loved. And I even learned some different things. But you could have, this is probably appropriate for like a middle school kid. They could have theirs. You could have yours. Have conversations together. Or you can both have this one. This one is great. And if you're scared of footnotes, read this one first. It has all the important information in it. This could also be used in classrooms. It should be used in classrooms. We approve of that. Other things we're going to talk about. We talked about how old you should be when you talk about race. It's forever. We have, we wanted to talk about not only sharing like hard history. So like Stamped is, it is hard. You have to process feelings and your identity and how it fits in that and all that stuff. We also would like to recommend reading content by Black, Brown, and Indigenous folks that is funny, adventurous, romantic, like all the genres. Because we don't just have to learn about.
Yeah, like comics.
We
like to read about.
We do.
I feel like it's not just about reading those various great books, but it's also about having positive images of, Black and brown folks and other people of colors, where, tell stories about their history and funny and such, where we have David Walker, who's from Portland, Oregon, Bitter Root, which is about a family of demon hunters out of Harlem. And they go all over the country and talk about, racism and all kind of things, and food and culture and cooking and such. And we also just this is a great company called Stranger Comics. I met them at Rose City Comic Con a couple years ago and basically he sold me on his whole series. It was like, I don't know how many books with posters and cards and such about Niobe.
We got all of
and her story. And the thing about it is like having a strong Black woman character, but not over sexualizing her and not, but letting her be a kid when she's a kid and letting her, now she's getting older in the story, become a woman as well, but still not overdoing it like some things do. We also try to have things like I got this from Comic Cave. Shout out to Comic Cave in Kenton on Free Comic Day. But we have other Legends of Korra. If you have kids, you know about the Avatar series, and this is like the sequel to that, and it talks about Korra and her journeys, but she's also LGBTQ, lesbian. And so it has like love interests of different kinds. It just doesn't just show that everything has to be one way. It's a diverse look, great characters. What's another one? Of course, Miles.
There's also a book.
Yeah. I mean, Miles Morales, the movie is great. The stories is great. Eternally, I've heard that there's been people who tried to kill him off in history from being a part of Marvel, but he is still here. Also, it's another one by David Walker, but also from Brian Bendis, who does a lot of Young Justice, and like he does like this Superman and Batman, all kind of different things. But this is Naomi, and this is a great one. The kids really love enjoying reading this one, and it like builds a real story and character. And like you said, it's another, like I said before, it's another Black character who's trying to find like her story and where she's from, but not like, putting too much burden on her and trying to make her, like I said, over sexualized, which is like letting kids be kids, which is perfect and great. And then because we also are fans of David Walker, we try to support his solid comics. That's definitely right here from Portland, Oregon, his own company. His logo has a fist on it, and David writes for Marvel, writes for DC Comics. He writes, has a lot of great projects coming up. And I think the Bitterroot might be getting turned into a movie by the same people who did Black Panther. So, I mean, we try to have like various different books and no matter the genre, but just a representation of positive images of who they can be and who they can strive to. Is not just showing them that they have to just, a lot of times you don't see positive Black people in books and such in school that's showing them that they could be doctors, lawyers, astronauts, musicians, and things like that. A lot of times in high school and stuff, we see like sports and rappers and models and stuff. And it's like, there's other things about, you could be a chemist, you can all of these great things.
A cook. So. We have a baker in our midst. You could be anything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Good grief.
Yeah. Another frequently asked question is about like how like raising mixed race kids. We're a totally multiracial family, so we've got lots of things going on. And I think one of the ways that we and I think anyone could access more of an anti-racist like lens is through just having lots of different kinds of stories.
Yeah.
They're sometimes called counter narratives because the dominant narrative, right? And we have the counter narratives. But in our house, those are the dominant narratives. The counter narratives are the dominant narratives. And the comics, I think, show a lot of how that can look and how fun that can be to read all of different things. I also want to say something about relationship because David Walker, not our relationship. It's just, that's a later conversation. But I shared some statistics about Latinx authors last week. I think 6% of children's literature published is by Latinx authors, only 6%. And 1% is Native American.
Wow.
Yeah. And I can't remember what the statistics are for Black authors, but it's bigger, but smaller. It's too small. So what I wanted to say is that one of the cool things about really diving into anti-racist reading is that it's actually really easy to connect with authors. So like when we went to Comic-Con, we were like looking for specific authors, and
we were set out and trying to find, strong women characters. What's the book that Vera has fallen? I think it's called. It's about, and I think everyone is of color in that book, but I found like the illustrator and the author, and trying to build contacts and relationships with these people, because you never know, we might so help support them and what they do, and also be able to do something with Reading is Resistant, or maybe even for our project, we might want to create a comic or some. We have a lot of illustrators and graphic people in this house,
and do lots of projects right now.
And of course, being at Comic-Con, I always like run into like someone who drew like my favorite cartoon series, or when I was younger,
you did have a fan moment.
Parent, like what was it, the Samurai Jack guy? Like Samurai Jack was huge in my house when I was raising my first daughter. We watched Samurai Jack all the time. Or you meet these artists and we just try to build relationships with them, because Zipporah's brother is an artist and a fantasy.
Cody Broche, Binary Press, check him out.
So we try to support, and all of those people are very close and connected, try to support each other as well. So, and
it turns out that the author world is similar, because there are so few Black, Indigenous, and other people of color publishing, and because we're focusing in on children's literature, like that's a little group of people I have found. And we have, we're starting to make some relationships with authors. Yeah. Tanya Guerrero, who wrote How to Make Friends with the Sea, saw some of our content and just thanked Vera for suggesting the book for middle readers. Yeah, it's so cool. I always get all fanny about it, but I feel like we support each other.
And I feel like on social media, you see, the whole hey, I have this product, or I'm a model and I'm an influencer and such, where you're putting out this great book, and it's great to see people is actually listening or reading or supporting it, and it makes you feel good. Just like when I see people reposting my music or supporting my music or blending my music in the craft that they are doing and stuff. It's great, and it makes me feel well that I'm doing what I need to be doing. And because sometimes we have, as creatives, we doubt that, so.
Yeah, so connection is key in all this, connecting with your kiddos, connecting with the artists who produce things. Yeah, and just do the work. Just have the conversations. You don't have to know everything. You'll meet people who can help you. You'll learn more together.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays with everyone being as kind of cooped up in their homes and such, it's great because Facebook, a lot of groups have been popping up in Facebook from, I just got added to a group that was like mixed parents raising mixed kids, or we just got invited to this Indigenous kind of like a homeschooling resource Facebook group, me and Zipporah, and so it's all these different support systems. I'm on Black Portland, and I'm on like BIPOC of Portland, all these various different groups, because sometimes you don't see these people in your circle, in your community, or on your street, and it's good to still be able to connect with these people and for resources and such. Because I'm like, hey, I need a therapist, or I need someone. Who can I go to in town? Is there a Black therapist in town who might be able to relate to what I've grown up to and understand, instead of trying to talk to someone who has no clue about the Black experience or anything, trying to tell me how to live my life a certain way, or I find that problematic already just thinking about it. So it's been great to seeing all these support groups and everything pop up and such.
Speaking of the homeschool thing, this is my last thing that I'm going to say for today. We'll be back next week, hopefully with our daughter Vera from Vera's Reviews on Reading is Resistance. So
she's famous.
She is famous. She's connecting. She's awesome. So she'll be back talking to us about books that she loves. I just wanted to say that with everyone thinking kind of toward, I know it's July, but we're all thinking about school because Reading is Resistance is putting together a lot of great materials focused on a single book each, with printable PDFs with discussion questions that help you have anti-bias and anti-racist discussions with your kiddos around book content. So we've got your back on that. We're going to have a lot of stuff that will be on a sliding scale, and lots of stuff that's free for you to check out to support your reading needs. So at least that one thing is taken care of. We got you for that. Yeah, that's all I have.
We got you.
Yeah. Come check us out.
And also, if you have any questions and such, you can always reach out to us. Zipporah is always on the Reading is Resistance groups and pages. I'm always on social media. If you have any questions, or you're like, hey, I didn't catch the comic or the
Yeah.
book or something, like just contact us and hit us up, and or you can reach out to Two Rivers Books and whatever,
Yeah.
support the
Purchase your books
community.
there. Yep.
All right. Thank you so much. That was such a fun conversation.
Thank you for
Lots of
having
good books in there.
me. Yay.
Have a great weekend. Don't forget the Genesis Society's festival and Bloody Mary Sunday on the 26th.
So good.
See you later.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.